There we go. Always have to remember to turn the microphone on. And welcome to... What are we doing today?
We're talking about...
Family History Fanatics today. And we're just getting started with everybody on right now.
Mm-hmm. So you can go ahead and, as you're logging on, go ahead and say where you're from so we know that you're there and making sure everything works. Definite opportunity to have a sound check. While you're logging in, give you a little update of what's going on in the Lee household, behind the scenes. Our son Caleb, he has a new nickname called Hopalong because he went to Boy Scout camp and played Capture the Flag in the Dark, and his knee contacted a rock, and he lost and got 6 stitches. So he is hopping along.
Yeah.
What else is going on?
The lawn mowing's outside. So if you hear some lawn mowing noises, that's because they're mowing the lawn outside. It's not us. It's the neighbor's lawn that's being mowed.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't control when they're doing things around here.
So hi, Melanie. Melanie's on.
Hey,
Melanie
Melanie.
Butterfly.
Hi, Melanie. Hi, Caleb.
Good. That means you can hear us if we're saying hi and you're answering hi back.
There you go. So what have you been doing all day today? He hasn't been doing genealogy. He's been playing.
No, I've been playing. So you might notice that there's something different about our live stream. If you look right below, we got this little scrolly thing going across. So I was setting that up, and then some of the other transitions that you're seeing today, me and Caleb were doing that. And so we'll see how that goes today. And if you like it, let us know. If it's really annoying and you don't like it, let us know. If you want to, put some comment in there, let us know for next time. And, we can put comments, we can put whatever we want in there.
This is Andy. He is, when I say he's the nerdy one on our channel, yeah, he goes out and gets nerdy. So why don't we go ahead and jump right in to what we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to start with some genealogy news. Is that right? Maybe?
Yes, I believe so.
Hey, Oliver. Good to see you. You're such a good fan.
All right, so our news for the day. So you can see I did something different here with like little people down here. Big screen over there.
All right, go ahead. And you got, okay, so we have been asked and asked and asked on our YouTube channel to take a test with Living DNA because they're a new company, and what's the claim?
Oh, they're a British focus. So if you have British ancestry, which I do, then they break down the ethnicity results by county within Britain. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Now we haven't pursued that really because the one thing that they don't have yet is they don't have cousin matching with other people, which from a genealogy standpoint pretty much defeats the purpose of doing that as a genealogy test. So we've been waiting for that, but they had deals at Roots Tech for $49, so I decided to get it because they said that they're supposed to have their cousin matching sometime this year. They said summer, and it's almost summer. So we'll see in the next few months whether or not they get that and what it's like with everything else. But we've got the results back for those tests. Mm-hmm. And, well, as with all ethnicity results, take them with a grain of salt. And we really wanted to see what Devin was going to come up with it because I came up with all from Great Britain. Mm-hmm.
Because on his paper trail, he's very English.
Very much. Not completely, but very much so.
Very much so.
What they didn't have some little bits of German and French and little bits here and there. But so with Devin...
paper trail, I am very German. I have multiple lines, multiple Germans. I do have some British, they're all brick walls. And then I have my biological grandmother's father. Yeah. So quite a few bags is Swedish. So, but I should have a significant German population. Unfortunately, I got nothing. Living DNA did not have any German at all. And all the other tests had that. So we didn't want to do a negative review until we had more information. So we went out to Southern California Jamboree and we talked to some of the, I guess you would say the CEOs or you know, the higher ups that run the company. And I said, what's going on? Why do I not have any Germans? Here's what I really liked. Instead of beating around the bush, he said, you know what, our German algorithm or population set, or I can't remember what term he used, but he said, our German results are not that good right now. So you are getting exactly what you should be suspected. So in the coming months, they're going to be solving the lack of German ethnicity in there. And then when that happens, then we'll finally do a review on the channel. We don't want to put out a negative review if they're working on it. But right now, if you take the test and your ethnicity comes back that you're not German or and you're supposed to be, then know that they're working on that problem. So I you know, it's kind of a negative, but I like companies that are going to be upfront and honest about, yeah, okay, we're working on that. So kudos for them for that.
Yeah. So just to show you here real quick on the screen, you can see what Living DNA gives you. Is they go through...
You haven't transitioned. They can't see it yet.
That's why. Look at that. That's part of the problems with technology. Is I'm seeing both screens, what you guys are seeing, plus what I want you to see next. And I forgot to transition you. So, this is Living DNA. All that stuff that I was just showing you, which you didn't see, that wasn't Living DNA. That was just a picture. But this is like their ethnicity results. So like I was saying, with Living DNA, one of the things their claim to fame is that they actually break down Great Britain and Ireland into almost county level in some cases, and little regions of it, which multiple counties together in other cases. So you can see this is Devon here, and when we go back here just to look at all of Europe, the one big blank spot is this German where all of her ancestors were from, like this southern Germany part. So we'll see what it is. And actually for our next, what do you call it?
Live stream.
Live stream. Sorry, I was trying to remember what this thing is called. So our next live stream, we are going to be talking about DNA and ethnicity results in particular from all the different companies. So if you have questions about that, then email those to us, log in, you know, and we'll see how we can answer some of those questions about it. But yeah, that just gives you a quick glimpse about Living DNA and what they show.
So we're not being critical about them. We're going to hold off on further reviewing of the company until that gets solved. And
the cousin matching.
And the cousin matching, yeah.
Because if you don't have cousin matching, then you're not doing genealogy.
Right. So anyway, let's move on to the next thing.
All right, so upcoming events that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was the one that's been scrolling across the bottom, and he's the nerdy one, so he'll talk about it.
So on August 4th, we told you about this a month ago, because 2 weeks ago we were in Southern California. So we told you about the Summer of DNA e-conference, and that is on August 4th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time. But if you are on some other time, feel free to register and log in at the appropriate time for you. We have, right now, the early bird pricing of $19.99 is good until July 21st. So you still got a month, but I just looked today and we've already got almost 20 people that have signed up. So if we fill up completely, then we fill up. So register now, and then you'll be sure to have that. Now, you will be able to watch all of the videos for this for 30 days after the e-conference. All of these are live presentations. They're not pre-recorded. They are live presentations, so if you have questions, you can ask those during it, and we'll answer that. And then also we have the panel discussion live afterwards as well. So you'll have all 5 hours of those that you will be able to get for $19.99, and you have those for 30 days afterwards. And that is Diane Southard, and Kitty Cooper, and Michelle Leonard, and Sam Williams. And while we were at Southern California Jamboree, we actually got Kitty and Diane to record a little commercial, which we will have coming out on various things here. We'll probably post that on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and whatever.
He's not the social one. He doesn't know where it goes.
Wherever she puts all those things.
But here, I do want to recommend that our conferences are unlike other conferences. You get to see the difference. And when I say see the difference, we ask our presenters to flip on their camera just like we are. Isn't this a better live stream than just a boring slideshow? No offense to other folks, but that's what we're trying to be a part of the revolution in a webinar technology. So it's worth trying out that new technology, being able to see the presenters throughout. Just like here in this live stream, the open chat is there the whole time. I've noticed that Oliver and Caleb have been engaging with each other, so come check it out. All right, that's enough about that.
And speaking of the chat, if you do have any questions for our Q&A session here coming up, put them in the chat and we'll talk about them. And it can be about anything that we're talking about right now or anything about genealogy in general. Doesn't matter.
Absolutely. All right, let's go on. Okay, so the teaser today was to talk about going out to Southern California Jamboree. This is our first time. We were first timers and got a new first timer badge on our name badge. That was kind of cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. It's in Burbank, California. Is that every year?
Yes, it's in Burbank. It's the same location every year. Once you've been once and you know the layout of everything, well, now when you go the second time, you're going to be an expert because it's the same hotel, same conference room. Right.
Which I like. I mean, there's some conferences, and we're going to talk about what do you like, what do you don't like. That's the whole point of the conversation. We're going to give a recap of Southern Cal, or we'll just call it Jamboree. And then, did we like that or not? I honestly think if a conference is in the same facility rather than bouncing around, like a certain state we live in. Anyway, they can work out the kinks instead of having new kinks every year. So I like that. Like if I get invited to speak next year, hint, then I'm so excited. I know what to expect, and it's billed as the fun conference, and guess what? It really was. So let's go ahead and give you some of the things that we liked about the conference. We might throw in a few things we don't if we remember, and go through it. So the first thing, I really liked this venue. It is very casual. It is very fun. And for a girl whose mountains are highway overpasses and anthills, I really liked seeing whichever mountains those are. I don't know my geography. They were just off in the distance. It was so pretty. But I liked that there was lots of places to sit down and chat with people in addition to attending the classes. I think I can't really articulate why I felt like this conference was really, really geared towards their clients. I mean, the customers and attendees, but this is one of them. It was very, very pretty. And
convenient. So yes. The hotel is like right outside the Burbank airport. When I say right outside, I mean, the Burbank airport's a small airport, first off. If you've never flown into Burbank, they probably maybe have 10 gates. But anyway, we had to walk from our gate back to the airport exit. And that was all about half the distance to walk across the street to the hotel. Right. So if they had to just let us out the emergency exit, we would have really just been able to done a quick jump across the street and we'd been at the hotel.
That was so convenient.
If you want to take a taxi from the airport to the hotel, you're looking at $1, and it's going to take about a minute.
They had a shuttle.
They do have a shuttle.
Diane Southard said that there was a shuttle. She came with a number of bags. We travel light, so we don't need that. We're going to be talking about a lot of frugal genealogy tips. So for us, we're nimble and we could cross the street. And it really wasn't that big of a walk. I think we walked more in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Than there. And I felt like the conference was very, very compact.
In fact, to give you an idea, it was closer from the airport to the hotel probably than it would be at Roots Tech from where you enter to get to the farthest classroom.
I think
it's closer than that. So as far as convenience, it's great. It's one of those that, hey, staying at the hotel is absolutely worth it because you don't have to go all over the place.
Which will okay, so we're talking some frugal genealogy tips because on this last Saturday, Jill Ball, Geneos from Australia, Andy's favorite girl from Down Under, she talked about frugal genealogy, and one of the things that was very frugal about this conference is if you are mobile and have the ability to cross the street from the hotel, there were a lot of convenient places to get affordable food. The negative from I heard is that there's a restaurant in the hotel and the food is overpriced and not so good. For us, we walked across the street and we had Denny's. We had a really cool taco place that had like the best taco, tortillas. And then, just everything. I think we did not have to repeat the places that we ate. That's how convenient it was.
For 3 days. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 days. Well, let's see here. So we flew in on
Wednesday
Wednesday night.
Late.
Yeah.
That wasn't the conference fault. That's Americans' fault.
Yeah, so we flew in on Wednesday. Did we get anything to eat on Wednesday night?
No.
Okay.
Because it was midnight our time.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it was midnight our time.
It was midnight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we flew in on Wednesday night. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, except for we just had lunch on...
Saturday.
Or breakfast on Saturday.
Okay.
No, lunch on Saturday also.
Yeah.
So we ate at a different restaurant every single time.
Mm-hmm.
For breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We ate on Saturday at lunch. We had at the conference they had, so there's restaurants in the hotel, but they also had sandwiches and burgers and hot dogs for sale out in the courtyard between where a lot of the classes were. Mm-hmm. And we had that for lunch. And
and he said that they were reasonably priced. I look at an $8 hot dog and I balk.
Well, I got the sandwiches, and the sandwiches were about as big as your face.
Right.
So yeah, for $7, that's worth it.
All right.
So yeah, so the variety of food, great location, and like I said, Southern California has it there every year. So it's something to look forward to next year, knowing exactly where we need to go.
Yeah, and so I know a number of conferences have giveaways and door prizes and raffles, but this one, okay, you see this little lady in the purple dress with the hat and the ticket sign sticking out of her. Okay, so first of all, she's adorable. And I loved all her marketing, because I have a marketing background. I love that marketing. But she'd walk in before the classes. Tickets! Get your tickets! $5. $5 for 5 tickets. I don't know, whatever it was. 6 for 5. She was so stinking cute that I needed to find $5 to give to her. And then I won. I'm like, okay, yay! But see, the prizes were so cool because
they had tons of prizes for the raffle giveaway.
Yeah.
So there was Thursday there was drawings, Friday there was drawings, and
Multiple
Saturday was drawings. So like 2 or 3 times a day, and then it was like
a grand prize.
15 prizes, each time. So you're talking about probably 150 prizes that they're giving away.
Yeah, and so if you didn't win, it was a good strategy to get people to buy more. I mean, I've been to others where they just have one kind of drawing, but having it throughout, it motivates you to do more. But I liked how there were prizes for, if we were staying there for an extra day, we might have been able to go to one of the local attractions for free. That was kind of fun. Or if we lived there local, you could get something like that. That was kind of cool. But if you weren't tied to that prize, I got to choose. So the only thing that like really jumped out at me that I wanted was another ancestry DNA kit that we gave to his aunt, because I pretty much tested all of the family members on my side that are living. Anyway, not everybody now that I think about it, but all the ones that I need genetically. No offense, cousins in Florida. Anyway, so
we already
it was
got
really
your
fun.
mom, so we're good.
Yeah. You're on your own. Anyway,
so the raffle was great, and they had it it was like a big deal whenever they had the drawings.
Oh yeah.
Because in the foyer there where they had the registration, they'd have little stand set up, and you'd probably have 150 people gathered around that they're calling out names for. Yeah. You didn't have to be there at that time because they put your name on the board, and that's how I found out the Devin one. Is I was just walking by the board looking at it, and I see her name. This is like the drawing right after she bought the tickets.
Yes.
So this is like, within an hour of her buying the tickets.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And she won.
I wasn't expecting. I was just giving Chat $5 because the lady was so cute. Anyway. So, if you want more people to buy raffle tickets, you need more good marketing. I mean, and if an old man was doing that too, I mean, I shouldn't say old, but I'm 40, she was 60, she says I can call her old. Anyway, sorry.
So raffles for conferences are a great way to, give away prizes, but also get people to where you want them to be for whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, I love this conference because they had a full day of writing Writing, classes on writing.
Well, let me pause you right here. So here's what I like, and I've talked with Devin about this. You can like move around. You don't have to pause your body.
You told me to pause. I paused.
So, all right, one thing with conferences is if you pay to go to a conference, you have what you pay for. And if you don't like what it is they're giving you for part of it, then basically that part of your money was wasted. Mm-hmm. Well, I can say this for Southern California is you're paying for learning genealogy.
Yes, absolutely.
You're paying for learning genealogy.
Yes.
They have, first off, a free track. So it's called Jambo Free.
Yes.
And so there's what, 1 or 2 classes each hour. I can't remember which, but so it's free. Maybe it's just 1 class each hour.
I think so.
But it's free. Mm-hmm. So if you are just getting started, if you want to see what this is about, then go there, go to the Jambo Free, and you get to go to some of these classes, and they have a variety of classes from some of their speakers. It's great. You get to go to the expo hall and see some of the things and give yourself a little jump start in genealogy.
Get your feet wet.
Yeah, and that's free. So you get your money's worth because it's free.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The second thing they had is they had a writing day and a DNA day.
Right. Now you could have bought both tracks, but it was a whole conference. So the DNA had 3 classes per session, and the writing had 2 classes per session.
No, the DNA had like 5 classes per session.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
okay,
it was
I'm
huge.
sorry. I didn't pay attention to DNA. But in any case, I like that you could go to the DNA and have just DNA, and then that way you're not, if you go to Friday and Saturday, okay, maybe you can take some more DNA classes, but now most of the times you go to a conference and you want to take a heavy load of DNA classes, but then they're competing against your hardcore research classes. And so it was kind of nice to be able to flip back and forth. But I'm going to go back to the point that I made. I really like that they had a full day to writing because I fully believe...
I wasn't done yet, but okay. Well, after you finish, I'll go.
Yeah, okay. So they have a full day to writing, and writing helps your research, and research helps your writing. So if you're not writing and you're researching, then you really need to research. So I really like they had a nice writing conference. They had a whole variety of philosophies, and then you can pick and choose the one that writes for you. I mean, mine is very simple. I will help you get to your first draft very, very quickly. And then there's other people who do storyboarding and some other things like that. So it was really great, comprehensive, lots of ideas, and then it was also paired with self-publishing, and I like that. But let me get to the next picture that I want to throw up there.
Okay, and then I'll go back.
And then we can go back to your thing. Okay, so when we were teaching we taught 3 classes. I taught 2, and he taught 1 on the writing conference class. There was a guy who, I guess he's one of the volunteers. He was taking pictures. And as you can see, Andy had some really great in-action pictures. Go ahead and throw up mine. Mine isn't so great. What he said is, you are so animated, and I move around the room a lot, so if you don't want somebody moving around the room, don't ever come to my class. But if you like somebody who's animated and passionate and is comfortable moving around the audience, that's great. But the photographer, that's the best picture you could get of me. and Andy, Andy's making fun of my posture. He's always telling me, sit up, stand up straight. But yeah, anyway. So, anyway, thank you so much, photographer. I will try to be more posed so you can get some better pictures of me. But anyway, that was really fun.
Okay, so going back to Jamboree overall, as far as the conference and what you're paying for. So Jamboree is set up that starts at 8:30 in the morning.
Yes.
There's a class, and half-hour break, and then there's like an hour-and-a-half break for lunch.
3 classes in the morning.
3 classes in the morning. 3 classes in the afternoon.
Yep.
So 6 classes.
Yep.
So for what you're paying for 2 days for the regular, and that's 6 classes or 12 classes that you can take, which is probably the best deal for most conferences out there. A lot of conferences I've seen are 5 classes or even just 4 classes a day. Mm-hmm.
Because they have a keynote.
And that's what my next point was.
Yeah.
So there's no overall keynote each day that everybody wants to, which I'm like, yay!
Now, as a speaker, we make our money on keynotes.
Oh yeah, so if you want to hire us for keynotes, we'll love that. But what I like that they do is there were breakfasts, there were lunches, there were dinners that if you wanted to, and it's basically a keynote breakfast, a keynote lunch, a keynote dinner. If you wanted to go, you could pay for that. And you get your meal, so you're actually doing something while you're listening to this keynote. You don't just have to sit there and listen to a keynote.
Yeah, that's great.
And I like that. And because then it also allows you to pick and choose. So maybe you don't want to go to the keynote on Thursday, but you do like this one on Friday.
Yeah, I really like. So it's kind of a la carte. So some people may like that strategy, some people might not. It was new to us, and I kind of like it, especially if you're trying to be frugal. Not having to pay for all the keynotes, or being that I'm still a stay-at-home mom, and he is a full-time working dad. When we go to conferences, we really need to have a lot of time to learn. And so being able to replace an hour that would have been a keynote for a class, that's sweet. Anyway.
Yeah. So that, and there was one other thing that I was going to say about the money with the conference. I can't remember what it is now.
It'll come back.
Okay.
We don't want to bore people to death.
But also put what you like about conferences in the comments so we can talk about that.
Do you like keynotes?
What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? Not just about Jamboree, about anything.
Right. Any conferences.
Because I'll admit, Roots Tech in 3 years, I have yet to go to a single keynote.
We can watch them at home.
Yeah.
Sorry. Kind of nice. Sleep in. Or some people I know like to go over to the family history library and skip the keynote. We did that 1 year. Yep. We did that one time. So anyway, I like that there was a variety of presenters. So you had Krista Cowan, who I adore. They have, so hi Krista when you see this. They had Michael Strauss, who's one of Andy's personal favorite. Michael actually introduced us to Pam, who is in the lower left corner. Yeah. And now, okay, so one thing about conferences that really get irritating is when the title and the description do not match what was delivered. Now, stick with me on this. I don't know how many of you sit down in the class within 15 minutes, it is not what they said it was going to be. And you are furious because you can't really get up and go to another class.
I remember at Roots Tech, one of our friends, she had gone to a class, and she was sitting like right in the middle of the row. And within like the first 5, and it was packed. Within the first 5 minutes, you realized, one, this presenter wasn't that good, and it wasn't the class you wanted to. But she ended up having to sit through the whole thing because she didn't want to get up and disturb everybody to get out.
Right. Now, stick with me on this. So Pam, I really only judged it on her title. And so I had my mind based on the title, not the description and the syllabus, where she was going to go with this class. And so I'm following along, and then she makes a pivot. And I'm like, wait, what are you doing? That's not what I signed up for. But I gave her another 5 minutes, and I was okay with that pivot. So that was a pleasant surprise. I'm okay with somebody who's like, anyway. So part of it was my fault with the title and description, but, or lack of description. But I was pleasantly surprised where Pam took us on the journey in her class. And it probably was explained. But in other words, don't just judge a class by its title. Look at the description and the syllabus, and as speakers, we really need to deliver on what's promised. So that's, and then the last thing, up in the upper right corner there was a panel discussion for DNA. I believe that one was on the free track for Jambo Free. And so I went to that class, and it was supposed to be a question and answer session. The difficulty with having so many people on a panel is if you go and answer one question and everybody has to put in their comments on that one question, you don't have a lot of coverage. So I don't know what the right balance is. I want the panelists to cover more content and more questions from the audience than predetermined questions, and then everybody has to answer it, and then you just run out of time for audience questions.
And that's really up to the person who's running the panel.
Absolutely.
That they need to understand that, hey, these questions don't need all 5 or 6 people. Because you can have a panel with 10 people or 5 people or whatever. And it's good because then you get this diversity of ideas from different people and experiences that they have. But everybody doesn't need to answer the same things. Right. Yeah. Particularly when, 3 of them may have basically the same opinion with a small nuance. Like, well, just get one of them and then find somebody who's got something different to say that, okay, well, let's contrast that and be able to get through more questions. And that's just, having gone through lots of panel discussions and stuff. Yeah. It's not something that, you necessarily know right off the bat if you get assigned to judge a panel or judge a panel, lead a panel, moderate a panel.
Yeah, there you go.
But so for conference organizers, if you're having panel discussions, make sure that the moderators know how to run a panel discussion well.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you guys think about panel discussions? Do you like more questions or everybody answering one question? I'd like to hear your opinion, see if I'm just a wackadoodle. Anyway, so Andy's going to talk about what he did.
She was about to take my line.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. I was at Jamboree and, I taught a class. I didn't go to any classes. I spent a lot of time in the expo hall, talked with several of the people. But the other thing that I did is, this was only about a month ago or so. I think I was on the website making sure everything else set up, and I saw that, hey, there's a volunteer thing. And, whenever I'm speaking at a conference, one of the things that both Deb and I like to do is we like to volunteer, because if the conference is going to have us come and speak, I want to help support them, and if they need volunteer helps for anything, then that's great. So we did registration one morning.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was great because Devin was leading everybody over to the handsome guy in the maroon shirt, and invariably they'd all come over. I was supposed to see the handsome guy in the burgundy shirt. And I'm like, no, it's not burgundy. It's maroon.
All right. So if you don't know what that means, we're both graduates of Texas A&M University. And so in our logo, there's a green and there's kind of a reddy color. That red color is maroon, not burgundy.
It's not burgundy.
Anyway, sorry.
But yeah. So anyway, one of the other volunteer opportunities they had was research assistants. And so you volunteer for half hours at a time. Tell what areas that you are willing to help people out with, and then people sign up to come and get helps with their genealogy problems. And I thought, I'll fill up my time with some of this, and so I think I ended up signing up for about 5 hours or so. And then they also pulled me in for another hour or two for some other people because I had some extra time. And
then you met with the folks that are on screen there at the table in the morning before they even started.
There was a couple that had come in that they didn't have time that morning or that afternoon, but they had time before the research assistant was going to start the next day. So I'm like, well, just meet me out on the tables at 8 o'clock and we'll go over your stuff then. And we did. And so it was great because it helped to, let people know about certain things. Like a couple of people, one of the most common things that I talked about was the unindexed records in Family Search. So basically the old microfilm that a lot of it you can access now online. And so for some people, they'd never even realized that was there. Even people that have been using Family Search never realized that there was this huge wealth of information that potentially was available about their ancestors. And so they were excited about that. There was a couple people with DNA questions that we basically had to map out who it was and who we could get. And one lady, she had a little difficult one for potentially her brother or half-brother that we had like 4 or 5 generations all mapped out trying to figure out, well, who else could we use to figure out who this adopted person was 2 or 3 generations back. And so there was a wide variety of things, and it was great because all the different volunteers, they all have different areas of expertise, and sitting in the room listening to people, I would hear things. And so whenever just walking around somebody said something about an Irish problem, it's like I don't have much of any Irish ancestry, none that I actually do any research on. I have never looked into Irish records. So whenever somebody said Irish, it's like, oh, I know the lady you need to talk to. Her name is, and I can't remember what her name is now.
Right, we're on the spot.
But, she was helping there, and, she knew all the things about Irish, what websites to go to, and all the details there. Yeah. So that was great. And that was just a great opportunity to be able to help other people out, to volunteer your time.
Yeah. So it's something that if we were invited to speak at a conference, we would happily do that again. I mean, if you're paying to get us to get out there, get some more out of us to help if people one-on-one and things like that. So while he was doing that, I had this opportunity. Yep. What?
The books?
Yeah, the books.
Oh, okay. I was like, are you looking at the next one or this one?
Well, and I'm thinking out of order from the slides, but I have to tell you, hey, for some of you may not realize some of your workshop presenters are not paid or paid very little to actually come to a conference. Now, I thought Jamboree was pretty great after we hit 3 classes, and then I picked up a 4th, and it was great. Now, one perk that Jamboree put together was an author signing table. So I'm going to let you talk more about it, because
yeah.
I just sat and talked to people and sign booked. It was great.
So Jamboree used to have what they called a book nook in the past few years, and it hadn't been very popular, but they still said something about it, and I'd asked about that, and so they said, well, we're going to discontinue it, but we'll do it, and they made some changes where basically it was all on the author's responsibility to do everything, which we were okay with, because most places that we go to, it's all on us to do everything. So if you're speaking at a society, if speaking at a library, doing an all-day seminar, we're handling any kind of book sales as well. So that was no issue. I was like, that's great.
But what they did, though, is they provided us a table in a decent location, and then they scheduled us. And we thought, oh, okay, you're scheduling us. There's other people. No, it was just
we were the only ones that wanted to.
Like, oh, okay, cool.
So it's great. But yeah, so they scheduled us for right after our classes, except for the ones that were right before lunch. They scheduled them for right after lunch. And that timing, just from a speaker standpoint, is great, because if you are teaching a class, like for instance, we were speaking in the writing conference. So all of our classes had to do with writing, and one of our books is called A Recipe for Writing Family History, that uses a lot of the principles in those classes. And so it's something that, hey, that there is another class in a half hour afterwards, you got to switch people out. And in this case, it gave a great place to, hey, come over to the book nook, to the author signing table, and I can answer your questions. But also then, if people are interested in buying your books, you have that available there. Right. So we had...
It clears the class.
Yeah, it clears the classroom out so that the next person can get set up. You're not taking up their space. Yes. But it also provides a place where the speaker can answer questions, and then in our case, to be able to sell some books as well without having to buy a table. Now, we had contracted with somebody in the expo hall to sell our books, which gave us another opportunity to meet fans and talk about that.
But honestly, I think that if more conferences provided that author signing perk, because they didn't charge us anything for that, which was really nice. Because now, if I want to make more money at the conference, then I have to knock it out of the park in my class. Because if we don't not do our job in the class and then say, oh, hey, if you're interested, we have this product, come check us out, you're not going to come check us out, and we know that we bombed, right? And so as a conference presenter, we bombed, everybody knows we bombed. But if we can then go have an author signing table, we then, I guess you could say, we can kind of control how much we earn at a conference. And then we're gonna give you more. We're gonna make sure we keep upping our game as a speaker. So just something to consider if you're ever planning a conference, and you have speakers that are also authors. Provide, free of charge, an opportunity for them to have a signing table. We had to handle all of our transactions. That really all you had was a table that you had to provide for us, and then ask, how did you do? Did you sell a lot of books? Because then you're going to know, in addition to the paper forms or the digital feedback form, they did a good job, or not so much. But it's a perk you can advertise.
And even if speakers don't have something to sell, it is a great way to help get people out of the room as far as moving people in and out.
Absolutely.
If you're providing a place right outside that they can, sit for the next 15, 20 minutes, half hour to answer questions,
absolutely,
then it's great.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
because that's value added to your clients. Let's call them clients. I don't know what to call them.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're trying to do that in between the classes of people going out and coming in.
All right.
So, next one.
What is that? Oh, the Expo Hall. You're going to talk about the Expo Hall. What you thought about this one?
Okay. What did I think? Okay. So, the Expo Hall. So like I said, with Southern California Jamboree, they have been using the same location for several years, which is great. And so there's a big ballroom that the Expo Hall is in, and they have in the hallways around that, which basically classrooms are on two sides of the Expo Hall. So you have registration in the Expo Hall, and then classrooms on one side and classrooms on the other side. So you're having great traffic flow as far as people walking between, going around, go in for a quick look, see all this stuff. As far as people flow, it was very well set up for everything.
Yep. I also like, if I can interject, I like that a lot of smaller societies were in the hallway. So you wouldn't necessarily try to go to the smaller societies, but as you pass them often enough, you're gonna look, and maybe that's how I discovered. I didn't know this. There's you know how there's the Confederate Daughters of the Confederacy organization, kind of like DAR, but for Civil War Confederates. Well, there's one for the Union. Okay, so some of you probably already know this, but I grew up in the South, like in Texas, and then nobody talked about that one. So as walking past often enough, I'm like, what? There's one for the Union? Okay, I need to know more about this. But
because her ancestors are from up north.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have a Union veteran. I have his pension file, and I have my track record. They're like, you're going to be slam dunk. I'm like, yay, that's exciting. But I wouldn't have sought them out. So that was kind of nice to have those smaller societies out there. And then in the expo hall, it wasn't enormous. It wasn't overwhelming. And I like that the big guys weren't all at the front. I don't like going to conferences where the big guys are all at the front because the smaller ones you're not going to go to.
Yeah.
And so I like that they were spread out.
And one of the things that they had is they had at the back of their expo hall, I'm not sure if they planned it this way or if it by accident happened this way, but there was four theaters. Yeah, 4 theaters. And they were all at the back. Now, I would have moved them around just a little bit. In other words, I would have had they were basically all along the back wall, and you had one right in front of another one. But what I would have done is I would have put one in each corner, and then, maybe even one at the corners of the front for your theater things, because then you can turn this around or whatever. But yeah, as far as the layout of the expo hall, it was great as far as the types of businesses all around. And honestly, it didn't look like anybody was favored, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And that can happen at a number of conferences.
Yeah,
so conference planners, spread people out, because then you have your startups or your smaller guys next to a bigger guy instead of all your big guys together at the front. And everybody, it's on you to bring a good profit. Because there was one business that's, you know what, we're not doing too well. And I was like, why? We're like, because we don't have any new offering right now. So we're just here for a presence. Well, at least they were honest enough to know. But some other folks were doing really, really great. So yeah. Anyway, something to keep in mind. All right, so...
And you can actually watch our video on YouTube about the expo hall.
Yeah. So when this video is over, we'll put a link, unless Caleb wants to go grab that, because he's in the chat right there. Love you, son. Anyway, so meanwhile, he's doing all the research. What's my nickname?
The social one.
I'm the social one. So, of course, I was social. And there were several meetups. There was the Virtual Genealogy Society meetup. And that was... the location was great. It was hard to figure out where people were meeting. I met up with 3 people, and we were in one place, and we didn't realize people were on the other side in another place until I stepped going, where are you guys? Where are you guys? They're like, we've been here for 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, I haven't seen you. So if you're having a meetup, then you need to have somebody go and scout the location and say, this place, this is where we're going to meet, if at all possible, because then Anyway, so, but it was still cool to be able to socialize and meet several new people to me from the Virtual Genealogy Society. And one person got her advanced degree at Texas A&M. So I love when I meet an Aggie everywhere I go. It's awesome. But then, of course, there was a first timer. Her name is Nora. And I met her on Twitter before the conference. And she was like, oh, I'm a first timer. And I'm like, hey, come meet me. And now we have a friend. And so, hi, Nora. It's good to see you. But then I got to see some of the other people that I'm friends with or in the genealogy community. But my favorite conversation, you see the one with the neon green shirt. So I was waiting for Andy to get done because I had just walked over to Subway's, got his lunch, and I came back and sat down. I was waiting for him. And this one woman, her name is Diane, she's like, you look familiar. And I'm like, you look familiar too. So it's okay to do this. Instead of looking at her and asking her name, I looked at her badge. I mean, I'm hearing impaired. Maybe that's just what I do. But I looked at her badge, and as soon as I saw her name, I'm like, Diane Goldhoff, I know you. Yeah, I'm the social one. Yeah. I get really crazy when I see people for the first time. Anyway, so we've been buds on social media for a while, so I got to talk to her, and we had a great conversation about different things that we liked about conferences, a conference we both went to, and the things we didn't like about it, and so on and so forth. So I like being social. A lot. A lot. So, if I'm ever at a conference, just grab me. Let's take pictures. I love it. Andy's going to be harder to find because he's probably going to be off doing the research assistance, which great, you know. But if you always wonder why are there no pictures of your husband, he's not the social one.
But nowhere near the camera.
Okay, so the last two things, I love going to conferences and seeing really cool genealogy things. And the California African American Genealogy, CAAGS, I believe it is. They had these banners, and they had the logo of their organization on top, and then they had the last names of things they were researching. Now, DAR had something similar, but what that is if you've proven a patriot or a supplemental, then you can name those people down. But here, these guys are saying, these are the names I'm researching. I thought that was really, really great. So I asked, you know, where did you get this? And there is some information. If somebody wants to take this on as a fundraising project for their group, I have some information I could pass on to you, because then you have to change the plate. Obviously, you're not California African American Genealogy Society. You can change it to something more general, but it might be a business idea for somebody else. I don't want to take it on, but I have the information if you're interested. And the last thing, I love funny shirts. This shirt, as some of you may or might not know, when I'm in social media, I have bad grammar and spelling. So I saw this shirt. It was so great. And here's the kicker of it all. I saw the shirt, and I thought it said, "Bad spellers of the world unite." Until I got home. And somebody said, "Oh, that's so funny. She misspelled this shirt." I'm like, "What? Oh, it says untie." So yay me! I can't even read a misspelled shirt and get the joke. So it was funny. That's a little off topic. But so anyway, it's now time. I'm getting really hot. It's in Texas. It's just so freaking hot here. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to the chat.
And we're going to say, again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat below. I've been scrolling through right now. There's a couple of questions there that we'll start with. But yeah, just put it in the chat, and we'll get to them here.
Right. So, and it can be on the theme, you know, what do you like at a genealogy conference, and what do you not like at a genealogy conference?
Or it can be anything else also.
Absolutely.
As always. So our first question from Oliver.
Hi, Oliver.
Is, what are your thoughts and opinions on some of the genealogical TV shows that are out now?
TV shows. You know, actually, Diane and I had a conversation about this. On one hand, if you're really into the sappiness or the emotional draw, they're pretty good. My favorite episode was Reba McEntire on Who Do You Think You Are? And she discovered that an ancestor put a 9-year-old boy on a ship and sent him to America as an indentured servant. So white servitude. Some people might call that white slavery, but it's kind of now a hot term, that slavery term. But in any case, she was fit to be tied. How could this man do this? Well, then she traveled to England, learned his history, that he had just lost his wife, if I remember correctly, and this was the best he could do for his son. And so he put him on the ship, put him in indentured servitude in hopes that he would have a better life, and because Reba McEntire, a country singer in the U.S., is descended from that line, he did live to be an adult and have a little bit better life than he had back in England. And so I like to see that mind shift that we have when we're climbing the trees of our ancestors. What I don't like is so many people mistakenly think everything's going to be so easy. If you really put a camera on people doing genealogy, it's really kind of boring to watch somebody do the genealogy. But when we hit the stories, it's kind of great. And also, maybe another negative is everybody has these great stories. And this is why I stopped watching. They had these great stories. I just have a drunk, a professor, and a milkman. And are my ancestors just not as important? I mean, I don't have anything super spectacular to talk about. And so if watching the shows makes you feel like your ancestors aren't so great, then maybe you shouldn't watch the shows. So that's kind of the things I'm thinking of. You haven't watched any of them.
No, I've seen bits and pieces of them.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and this is because of TV.
Right.
You know, they can't show you the literally hours of work that the researchers are doing behind the scene, and they don't show you the, you know, I'm not sure if they have dozens of researchers or if it's just one person, but
right.
I would guess that there's more than one person involved in research just because of the different things that they have. Because in a lot of cases, the kinds of documents and things that they're showing, they're not showing something that you're just going to find online.
Right. Pretty obscure records.
Yeah, you're going to some obscure records, and so more than likely you have, you know, some archivist involved or some historian that actually knows about that particular area. And yeah, for TV, they have to, you know, put this story together and get that. And so if it is getting you interested in genealogy, I think that's a good thing. But on the other hand, if you walk away from it with the thought that, like you said, hey, this is easy because in an hour they found all this stuff back for 500 years.
Right.
No.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
no.
but
you might.
But occasionally they may introduce you to something you never thought of researching before. I think that's happened to me occasionally. But I'll tell you the show that I really like. It was called Story Trek, and I believe it was on the BYU TV channel. But there's been some other iterations. And it was this guy who threw a dart at a map and then opened a phone book and picked a random name. And his whole premise was everyone has a story. So he'd go and he would interview the random people that he found in that method and get their stories out. I like that. Because sometimes he'll
because it wasn't some celebrity, it was just some random person.
Yeah, I like that.
And we're random people.
Yeah. So were most of our ancestors.
So yeah, I think you know, in general, I think that genealogy shows are good because it gets people interested in that. Then that's a good thing. If you, on the other hand, if you compare it to something like CSI, some of your crime shows.
Or any of the medical shows.
Some people, and they've actually, you know, had this where lawyers are upset because some jury members have this idea of how crime is supposed to be solved that is in no way what reality is. Right. And a lot of that comes from some of these shows. So genealogy shows overall are good. Just make sure people have realistic expectations. So going into it, make sure you have realistic expectations. And
definitely don't shame. Oh, but there was one genealogy show that created some hubbub because somebody discovered something unpleasant on their family tree, and all of a sudden, don't air that show. Okay, dude. That show should have been aired, and then it should have been followed up with a discussion of what happens when you see slave owners on your tree, or junks, or murderers. I mean, or serial killers. I mean, like, that would have been a very good show, but it got pulled, if I remember correctly. And so... Yeah. Anyway.
So here's our next question is about the e-conference in August. The question is, if you can't watch the live stream on the 4th, and this is from Deco Cards, will they put it on YouTube later for us to watch? Okay, it won't be on YouTube to watch on the free side, but if you register for it, there will be a replay. And what it is you will be emailed the passcode and the link for that replay, and from that then you will be able to watch those, and that's for 30 days, so up until September 4th. So yeah, even if you can't attend on the 4th, be sure to register because we don't take the registrations after the 4th.
Yeah. And we're trying to pull up, together some giveaways.
Well, yeah, we do have some giveaways. So MyHeritage has already given us DNA kits to give away. We've contacted some other companies as well. So those are giveaways for free. So we're going to be drawing it from everybody that's registered. So you don't have to be present to win, but you do have to register.
Yeah.
So register, you may win, and you may be able to get some ancestor.
The more people who register, the more prizes we can give away.
Exactly. All right, there was a couple others. Okay, Indian's Blood had one.
Hey guys, how are ya?
So Indian's Blood wants to know is, why are all these genealogy events always in California?
That is a great question. Same question as, why are all the video conferences in California and the marketing conferences in California?
But they're not all in California. So there's, well, first off, California's a big state, lots of population, so that's why.
And the weather's great.
And the weather's great all year round in lots of places in California.
Flood.
And well, certain areas. But anyway, so Southern California Jamboree is one of the largest conferences. And that's obviously in California. But Indian's Blood, you're from New York, and so you're wanting to know about some events that are closer to home. I believe that the New York State Genealogical Society has a conference each year.
No, It's every other year, if I remember correctly.
Every other year? Okay.
And that's why it gets kind of confusing.
Okay. So there is one. Look into the New York State Genealogical Society. Mm-hmm. Also, if you're interested in going up to Ontario, the Ontario Genealogical Society has a 2 or 3 day conference every year. And that was the same time as Jamboree. So some of our friends were up at Ontario. Yeah, there you go. New England Genealogical Society, I believe. I can't remember if they have one. They've got to have one. But you do have the rotating conferences, FGS and NGS? FGS, yeah. The Federation of Genealogical Societies and the National Genealogy Society, they rotate where their conferences are every year. And so most recently, I think one of them was in Michigan. Yeah, Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids, Michigan. I forget where they are in August. You would ask me when I'm not thinking about it, and I can't remember. But there's also in Pittsburgh. The Institute of... The GRIP. The GRIP. And so it's actually an institute. So it's a week-long, I believe, but it's an intensive research conference. So it's a little bit different than your genealogy conference where you pick a la carte kind of classes. So go ahead and check them out, GRIP, GRIP, and then it's in Pittsburgh. Yeah, and so that's up in the Northeast near New York where you are. But also for other places around the country, there are actually about, I've gone through and figured them all out, there's about 70 societies that have all-day seminars, like an all-day seminar once a year. And this is spread out throughout the United States, everywhere from Montana to Alabama, Texas, all sorts of places. And this can be just a little local society. It could be a state society in some cases. There's probably about... There's a good portion 20, in Utah. Yeah, there's... No. No? No, Utah hardly has anything. Okay, sorry. We're going to one. I was kind of like leading in that way. But no, okay. But there's probably about 20 or 30 conferences of some sort that are like multi-day type of things, like we're talking about. So like Ontario, New York, Georgia. California, Georgia has one. Texas has one. Oklahoma, I believe, has one. I think Arizona has one. If you know of one, put it in the comments. Yeah. Feel free to put that in the comments, and if you have the website, put the link to those. But we're also going, our next big conference that we're going to is the Family Roots Expo. Roots Conference. They changed the name. They changed their name, and I haven't been able to change with them yet. Family Roots Conference in St. George in the 28th. 28th and 29th. Yep. Because on the 22nd, we have a different e-conference that is a benefit for my local our local genealogy society, but we'll talk about that in the future. All right. So this isn't a question, but Melanie says, I am glad for Find a Grave. Devin, what are your thoughts on Find a Grave, since they just went through a new thing? I have a video called What's the Deal with the Find a Grave Apocalypse? I like Find a Grave. I don't know, and I'm opening a can of worms here, I don't know what the big deal for most people is. I talked to Peter Drinkwater, who is the, project manager for Find a Grave, and he taught a class. Peter, I hope this is okay if I share this. He taught a class at Roots Tech, and there were a lot of people who are fit to be tied about the changes to Find a Grave. Half an hour, or halfway through the class, people are like, oh, so that's where things moved. So as you get refamiliar or allow for change, you find that Find a Grave hasn't really changed all that much. I like the new look. I like that when I get my search results, I automatically see a thumbnail on the Find a Grave pictures, because just having the old little rip symbol, and I didn't like that so much. But I like a lot of the things that they have. Now, is it the best design out there? No, it's not. But it is synergistic with Ancestry.com, who is in hot water right now because they're having technical difficulties for many months. I'm not going to get into that, but I do like Find a Grave. I like volunteering for Find a Grave if I lived in an area that needed to be photographed, but where we live, it has been pretty much canvassed. But yeah, I really like it. It's a great site. Anytime I go look for what I need to find, I can get to it quickly. Oh, the other thing that I like is they changed the, what is it called? The way you submit information. In the past, you had like 15 different forms of how to change the name, change the birthday, change the location, and here it's all on one page. I like that. That is really great. So I love Find a Grave too. All right.
And sure, it has problems, but I haven't run into the ones that bug me too much.
So, next question here. This is from Oliver again. What are your thoughts on Alex Haley and his works? Well, the only work of Alex Haley that I know is Roots, the book Roots.
Oh.
And I think I had to read that, or at least part of it, when I was in high school or middle school.
Be careful. We met his daughter, right?
I don't know. Was that his daughter?
Or was it
the producer's daughter?
Oh, I might have been the producer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So, first thing about the book Roots, from a story standpoint, as far as a story being told, I think it is a great story. Mm-hmm. And we talk about, in some of our writing classes about stories and how to tell them and how to, weave things together. And Roots is a great story. Now, from a historical fiction standpoint, I think it is probably pretty good as far as giving you a feel for this big, broad time period of a couple hundred years and lots of things that are going on. Now, from a genealogical perspective, as far as a factual perspective in genealogy is concerned, I'm going to have to defer to Elizabeth Shown Mills. And if you go to her website, she and her husband wrote a review of Roots back in the 80s and pretty much went through the entire thing.
All the characters?
Well, all the characters. And from a genealogical, to sum up, and this is summing up what her 10, 20-page paper is. It might have even been 40 pages. I can't remember how long it was. Pretty much everything before 1920, there is no real documented evidence of. Most of the things are either obviously the incorrect people that are being identified, or nope, there's just no evidence, or this is completely wrong because this person is not in that place at that time. Mm-hmm. So would I use it as any kind of genealogical record? No. Now, the one thing that Roots, when it came out, is that it, both the book and then later the miniseries when that came out, mm-hmm. is it got people interested in genealogy.
Right. And so that's a good thing.
So yeah. So if you're looking at Roots as a work, a historical work, an accurate work, no, it's not. It simply is not. If you're looking at it from a historical fiction standpoint, yeah, I think it's a great story. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm not sure about any of his other works. All right, Indian's Blood. New York State, I heard, had very poor genealogy records. Is that true? I think what you actually might be hearing is their access to certain records. Mm-hmm. I know that, what is that company? Save the Records, Find the Records?
I was trying to think of it, and then you started saying names.
I can't remember, but there's a group out there that mm-hmm. their goal is basically to get access to mm-hmm. all these records, mm-hmm. genealogy records, right. that should be in the public domain. And one of the states that they've had a lot of problems with is New York.
Yep.
And so what we're talking about things like,
marriage records,
birth records and marriage records that are, dozens, hundreds of years old.
Mm-hmm. They make it, but it's New York, folks. Oh my gosh, New York. Ugh.
We lived in New York, and so, yeah, we understand some of the regulation. So as far as the records itself, though, I've done some research in New York mm-hmm. with some of my ancestors, and the great thing is because they've been around since the Dutch came here, they have records back to those time, and you can mm-hmm. find stuff in the 1600s and the 1700s about your ancestors in New York. So I think what you might have been hearing is really the access to those records, not necessarily the records themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, when you get to other places in the country, Tennessee, I'll just use that as an example. A lot of records don't even show up until the 1900s, the early 1900s. So when you're talking about records of births, marriage, and deaths, they may not have had them even recorded. You just went and you got married, you had your kid, person died, and there was no kind of civil recording until the early 1900s. So all across the United States, you have this broad spectrum of what it has. Mm-hmm. I saw another question on here. Woo! Are you into J.R.R. Tolkien's works? Do you know more than of the characters have family trees explored? Well, okay, I know Lord of the Rings, and Caleb actually would probably know more about this because he's read these a lot more recently. Tolkien created a world, literally out of nothing but his imagination. And that included genealogies of these peoples, as well as languages, the different elf languages and that. All part of this world. So, and that he was... If I remember right, he was like a professor of linguistics, yeah, something like that. So, perfect person to write a story about a world that involves all these new languages and stuff. I'm sure that there are some trees on Ancestry that actually have the genealogies of some of these other people from J.R.R. Tolkien's works. I've never delved into that. You can find lots of trees on Ancestry.
What is that site that we used to look at? Barking Up the Wrong Tree?
Barking Up the Wrong Tree, yeah.
They showed all the funny trees that people put online.
All right, Oliver asks, how about Missouri for accessing genealogical records? I have no idea.
So I have a branch that dips into Missouri and then comes back out. I'm not an authority on Missouri, but so the records could be great. But we're still in an age, even though there's so much online, there's a lot that's still in the archives, as my friend Melissa Barca, the archive lady, would tell you.
She just said, yay for Tennessee.
Hey, Melissa. And correct me if I'm wrong. That's what you would say. I'm summarizing you. But I know that Franklin County, Ohio, has been very good at making sure their birth, marriage, death, and a whole host of records have been online. There's gaps in their newspapers. I don't know what's up with that. I am waiting for a company to put the whole collection of Columbus, Ohio digitized newspaper in one spot, because then I will give them my money. I will be there a very long time. I have so many ancestors. But in Missouri, I bumped into so many walls of not being able to get access to records online. That doesn't mean they don't exist. And right now, it's just one person that dipped in there, one couple that married, and that's it. So I'm not as motivated to solve that problem yet. But if you go to the Family Search Wiki and type in Missouri and the specific counties that you're looking for, they're going to be able to tell you where the record collections are hiding. So Family Search, and then go to familysearch.org, click on search, and then go down to Wiki, type in your location.
Let's show, not tell.
He's going to show.
Look at this. Let me fade over here. Okay, so.
Now, Family Search, they're starting to require you to have an email address, and that's part of the agreements they're having with a lot of the collection owners.
So if you go here, search Research Wiki.
Right there.
And let's say we want to search for...
Missouri.
Jasper, Missouri.
Do Howard County, Missouri.
Howard County, Missouri. Howard County.
Right there.
Missouri.
And then,
all right. So yeah. So then it comes up with...
Don't click that button.
That one?
Skip that button. Okay. And just scroll down. Just keep scrolling down.
So yeah. So here's one, that I'm talking about, like... And this is...
When the
records started.
Began being collected by civil authorities.
Yep. So, hey, they started actually recording marriages back in 1816. Births didn't do it until 1883. And yeah, Melissa, if you've done plenty of research in Tennessee, I was helping out somebody who was doing some Tennessee research, and when we were pulling up these counties for Tennessee, this table had like 1920, 1913.
But if you keep scrolling down, it'll tell you the resources. So you keep going down.
Boundary changes, populated places, resources.
Yep.
So there's cemeteries, their census, church records, all sorts of different things.
So use this as a gateway to your records when you're researching in an area where you're unfamiliar. That's the secret for most genealogists, is they go to a finding aid like Family Search Wiki to figure out what is available. Yeah,
and Melissa, they put up there, Tennessee birth death started in 1908 by law.
There you go.
So, yeah, you might have some counties that may have recorded stuff before then, but universally they didn't. Whereas in some of these other states, they've been recording some of this stuff since the middle or even early 1800s.
Yeah. And if correct me if I'm wrong, others in the group, it is my understanding they started with land records first because land mattered more than your existence. And so if you go to the land records, occasionally land records and wills and probates, which dealt with passing on the land, you can find some records of birth, marriage, and a variety of things stuffed into those collections. So it's worth investigating land records because they occurred earlier than many of the vital marriage, birth, deaths, and stuff.
Yeah. So Melissa just told us we were thinking of save the records. It's reclaim the records.
Yes.
Reclaim the records. So
thank you.
Check them out, and if you want a good cause to donate to, donate
Absolutely.
to them.
Because and what you're donating is money for them to sue the authorities who won't let us have access to our records, which are really public domain or whatever, but they're just being stingy. So
yeah. Anyway. So Melanie asks a question. How did you get into genealogy? So Devin, I'm going to let you take that one.
Okay. It started because my mom told me about my ancestors. I moved to Texas when I was 2.5, so all of my family was back in Ohio, and we didn't visit very often, so she had to tell me who these people are. My cousins were older than me, or I have a cousin that's 20 years younger than me. So if I was going to learn anything about my family, it was going to come through my mom. She began keeping some genealogy records in the 1975, so I have to praise her and Great Aunt Dorothy for getting some collections started. But when I was a teenager, my church had this program of personal development of young women. And one of the projects, I didn't like the rest of the projects, the only one that sounded interesting because my mom started the work was genealogy. And so I just began there. One of the difficulties, though, is when you live so far away from where you research, you can't travel when you're a teenager and in college. You just don't have the money. So it was more just sharing some letters, getting some stories. I was studying journalism, so I really loved stories. And then eventually when online genealogy became what it is today, as I said before, there's a lot online. Not everything's online, but dang, I have been able to accomplish so much because of online genealogy that I can do while I'm nursing a baby at 2 a.m. So that's how I got started, and it's probably a little more graphic than you wanted to know, but that's how I got started.
Okay, so me, well, I got started. I'm trying to change the slideshow over on this other side right now, so it looks like I'm not paying attention, but I am sort of.
No, you're not.
So I got started with. Well, I'm trying to think.
You're writing.
No, before that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh yeah, I remember. So when I was, I think, 8 years old, we got an Apple IIc computer. And this was the bomb, and I went back and looked at it, and this must have cost a fortune for my family, now that I look at prices. But we got that, and we had games. We had, Dig Dug, Oregon Trail, Lode Runner, Pong. Rocky's Boots. No, this was more advanced than Pong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what was so cool about it. It's because it made our Atari 2600 look like, oh, man, we don't want to play that. And so there was games, and then the other thing that we had a copy of Personal Ancestral File. Mm-hmm. And my aunt, she was the genealogist in the family. She would send, all of her brothers and sisters, including my dad, a copy of the GEDCOM file that she was working on every 3 months, 6 months or so.
What? Was it the floppy
yeah,
ones?
It was
the big
floppies.
floppy ones?
The big floppies.
Oh my goodness.
The big floppies.
How did we get those through the mail?
I don't remember. You'd have to, whatever. The cardboard pack. You'd have to do it in the cardboard packs.
There you go.
Because this wasn't those little plastic ones. This was the hard plastic ones. This was the floppy ones that flopped.
He's old.
And so whenever you've played all the games, well, what else does this computer do? Yeah, Caleb, the giant SD cards. That's what I mean. So whenever you've played all the games and you're bored, it's like, well, let's see what else this computer can do. Mm-hmm. And so there's this other program, PAF. And so I got, poking around in that and seeing what I could print off and this and that. And one of the things that I did, I remembered, is there was this option to print off, your family chart, back 7, 8, 9, 10 generations or so. But it would print it off, in what, like 10 by 10 pages, but any page that didn't have stuff, it would have nothing. So it starts off with one page here, and then you have like 2 papers here as it branches off and keeps on branching off.
I never printed my tree, sorry.
What I found is I laid that out on our living room floor, and I was looking at it, and I basically found how, my family doesn't tree out nicely all the time. It goes on into itself.
Oh, tree collapse.
I have some tree collapse within like 7 or 8 generations where, and so that got me interested. And so I did, dabbled in lots of different things since then on that.
I have a little tree collapse up for my German Canadians who intermixed with the United Empire Loyalists, which I need to submit that application. I'm not a daughter of the American Revolution. I'm a Tory.
That's right. Crazy Canadians.
A? No, that's Australian. What do they say? About? There you go. That's all Canadian.
No, they say A.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know if the Australians say A.
Oh, whatever.
But that's Canadian.
We need to travel more.
All right, so Oliver asks, any Civil War ancestors?
I have one. I probably have... no. Okay. I have one bloodline Civil War ancestors because I have all those Germans. But I do have one, and he was actually... Civil War ancestors. A lot of us think, they fought. Well, when I found out mine just was on the committee, the unit that went up and cut telephone wires and blew up rail lines, I was kind of disappointed. I wanted a cool ancestor. But then I'm like, wait, everybody has a place in the military. So I'm really thankful for William James Townsend. His pension record was awesome because it told me how he got blinded. It told me who the midwife was. It gave me more clues to do some more research. I was hoping maybe there would be something else taking place in that census file. It's not. But what I have discovered after I discovered him, and then doing some inferential genealogy and putting together some more of his relatives, is that his brother served in the same unit. And so once I get some money together, or remember, I have to remember and have money to spare, I need to go get his pension file because I'm interested to see what other details are going to be in his record. So I have that. But on my adopted line, the Marvins, like the whole family went to war, but I'm not allowed to count them because we're not blood relatives. However, my granny claimed them, so that should be good enough.
There you go.
There you go. What about you?
I don't know that I have anybody.
Because y'all just...
Well, because I have... So half of my family didn't even come to the United States until after the Civil War. And then the other half has been in the United States forever. Well, part of that. Part of them that came before the Civil War but hadn't been here forever. And by forever, I mean like 1600s, early 1600s. They came here and ran away to California, and there probably wasn't near as many people from California that were in the Civil War.
There you go.
Because of how far removed that was. So I haven't. Now, I have found from the Mexican War in 1848, 1847, War of 1812, yes. Revolutionary War, yes. World War I, World War II, but the Spanish-American War and the Civil War, my ancestors, I guess, just decided to skip those.
Or they weren't available.
They weren't available. Mm-hmm. We just lined up the right way.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the time where we're going to end. Mm-hmm. 1846. Thanks, Michael. I knew it was in the 1840s sometime.
Hey, how are you?
Tell us, what you think about the new look, with, let's see here, having the chat available right there, and what other stuff do we have here? The scroller bar, if you like it, if it's distracting, if you don't like it, if you think that it sucks and we should just go back to a plain video, like that, we can...
You didn't say I would write that.
Like that, I can just do the plain video. Let us know what you think, because we're interested in, hey, what works what do you like as far as different things? I like to try different things. I see things on YouTube, and I like the whole green screen thing. You know, I saw it on YouTube, and I'm like, you know what? That can't be that hard to do. And so, you know, researched into it and found out, oh yeah, it's pretty easy. And
I like not having to clean the house.
It's great because then you don't have to clean the house. You guys have no clue how dirty and messy our house is. Like, if you look, okay, so on our YouTube channel, we have the videos where we're facing the couch.
Yes.
In our master suite. And the rest of the master suite, I'll be honest, the bed's probably not made. It's a disaster. There's clothes all. In fact, even on the ottoman that's like right in front of where we're sitting, you know, the microphone's sitting on there, and there's probably some clothes and books and papers and stuff. You don't even know it because you don't see it. Yes. And
now the cat's out of the bag. Devin doesn't clean the house.
Neither does Andy. So the the green screen is it. You don't have to clean your house, and I would honestly, if you do webinars like Michael, I know you do webinars. I can show you how to do the green screen with OBS that you downloaded, and you're never going to have to clean your house again. It's great. Well, if you want to show that you're like in New York, or if you want to show like you're in the archives, you know, you're giving a talk about the archives or something, and you want to throw a picture up of the archives, the stacks in the background, and now you're teaching from the archives. It's great.
The archive lady.
Yeah, Melissa, you could do that too.
Anyway, so join us for our next live stream. You had me forget it. The next live stream is going to be on 2 Fridays at 2. So 2 weeks at 2. We're going to talk about DNA ethnicity. And when I say we, I really mean him. So I'm just here to tell you the things that disappoint me because I don't understand it near as much as he does. And then for future ideas, we would love to know what you would like to hear talk about. So always use info at familyhistoryfanatics.com if you have any future video ideas.
There, I'm sorry, I was playing around with this thing trying to get what I wanted. That's the one thing that's confusing is I was clicking on a half a dozen different things trying to get to the one that I really wanted, which was this one. So yes, our next live stream is June 29th, 2 p.m., so 2 weeks from today. And the reason why it's 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, is because I have every other Friday off from work, so it's convenient to do it that time. And actually, we had another question come in. So Jack Meyer.
Slipped right in.
Yeah, slipped right in, so we can answer it.
Hi, Jack.
Let me see here. Yeah, so what do you guys think of WikiTree? The idea being to create one accurate tree. I'm messing with it, but I'm struggling with the format. The concept of one tree I love. Now, I don't use WikiTree so much. I use the Family Search family tree. And why I love it is just from the whole wiki format is the crowd is smarter than any one person.
It's scary,
now, though. There's a lot of idiots in the crowd. And that includes us, and it includes you. But overall, the crowd is much smarter than any one person. And so the key to any kind of one tree, like WikiTree, or I think Jenny also has a tree, one tree, or Family Search family tree, is you need to include sources, and you need to include reason statements, documentation, basically show why you think this is the right information. Some of it is pretty easy, like if we were just talking about the name of something and we have a dozen records that all have that exact name, as long as you're attaching all those, then there shouldn't be any discussion or any argument about that. Where it really gets into is when you're starting to get back into records where, hey, there may only be 1 or 2 records, but some of these records don't actually...
They conflict.
To
use GPS terminology. Genealogy proof standards.
They conflict, or you have to infer different things in different ways. You basically have to make a case. I'm not sure if WikiTree allows you to basically write out a paragraph or 2 paragraphs of what your case is for this date, but Family Search Family Tree does.
For every time you make a change.
Well, not only for every time you make a change, but you can even go back into each individual thing and say, hey, this date, the reason why this date is correct is because of X, Y, and Z.
Right. So I like that.
Yeah, I like that. And it's different because when you think about family, when you think about trees for 150 years, 2,000, 500, 5,000 years, whatever, ever since people have been making family trees, I'm going to hit you. I'm not hitting my wife, I promise. I love her.
I know. He wanted to kiss me before we started.
So, but anyway, so for all this time that we've been making family trees, basically you had to do it individually. And so there was only an individual tree. It wasn't really until 5-10 years ago that you even had the technology to make one unified tree that hundreds and thousands of people could work on together. So support WikiTree. Yeah, if WikiTree is where you want to go, then go to it. Make sure that you are documenting things. Make sure that you're being civil when you're telling people that they're being idiots. And recognize that you're going to be an idiot also at times.
And some people, so I had a conversation with somebody earlier this week about, can I put my tree private on Family Search because I don't like it? And then if I don't like it, take it down. Well, the answer is no. And the same with WikiTree. The answer is no, because it's a one tree. And the thing is, I said, why don't you like it? Oh, well, I don't trust my conclusions. I'm going to make mistakes. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. I have a video, Research Over My Shoulder, that talks about peer review. You'll have to go check that out. And give it a thumbs up if you like it. It would be really great. Anyway, but even Hillary Rodham Clinton has a messed up tree for a while until somebody else came back and fixed the situation with her grandmother.
And this wasn't amateur genealogists that were making that tree for her. This was all, the professionals, the top professionals that were making that. That messed up.
And there's a lot of times when I'll have working theories in Family Search and I'll attack something and all of a sudden, oops, I messed that up. Well, you can change it. That's what's really great about those trees is you can change it if you go the wrong direction. And so I like the collaborative. I like the theory of the smarter, but I like us working together. Because here's another example. So I know that my second great grandfather, Joseph Geisler, he married Caroline Mock. When he died, Caroline Mock married 2 to 3 months later with the last name Geisler. And those marriage records, they didn't give you anything else. It just said 2 names, the date, and maybe the officiator. Woohoo! So on that record, if you didn't know Caroline was really Caroline Mock Geisler, you would have been looking for Caroline Geisler. And so she had 2 more children by her second husband, and that family has been looking for years for Geislers. They're not finding any. So I come along and I fixed the tree. They made a change, and I'm like, hey, did you know she actually had this first husband and had these 2 kids? And oh, by the way, here's that census record because they also had 2 children with the last name Billman, but those were really the Geisler children that were misidentified in the census record. I hope this makes sense. I don't have the pictures. But they've been looking for son's name Billman and her name Geisler when they're all misnamed. But in Family Search, Family Tree, I could correct it for them. Once that family now knows, oh wait, she had a previous marriage, it's fixed. So I like collaborative trees. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're good. So our next live stream, again, 2 weeks from now, 2 p.m., we're going to be talking about DNA and understanding ethnicity. So I'll use some examples from me and from Devin and maybe from our kids, and you can see how we're all different. If you have questions, you can email those to us. info@familyhistoryfanatics.com. Let's put that in the
chat.
Chat, so that way it's there.
Okay.
familyhistoryfanatics.com. Look at that.
There you go.
So you can email us your questions beforehand. Log in. You can put your questions in the chat for it during it, and we'll have the same format. We'll have some news, some upcoming stuff, and then we'll do our Q&A all about DNA, understanding ethnicity.
Yep. And I hope you'll make sure you go and check out all the videos that we have on YouTube. Give them a thumbs up. When you like what we do, leave comments, especially on the non-DNA videos, so they can reach more viewers. We answer every single comment that we receive, and we try to. Okay, let me rephrase that. on the non-DNA videos, we answer every single one of those comments because they don't have a lot of comments.
It depends on where they comment, but
that's true.
We try to answer all the comments, so
yeah.
Sometimes your comments get hidden down in places, and so if we didn't answer it, it might be because it's hidden. But yeah, so we'll be looking forward to seeing everybody again in 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Stop.
Stop. I'm looking for the stop button.
It's over there somewhere.
Okay, now we're stopping.